Before yesterday, there was only one 1,000-yard rusher in all of college football, and his name is Breece Hall. Breece is the best running back in college football right now, but he is getting robbed because he doesn't go to a big-time school. There is no reason that Hall should not be a legitimate Heisman candidate, and it should be considered a football crime. Since David Montgomery left for the NFL, Iowa State fans were left wondering who would be the next big-time running back to come through Ames, and Breece Hall has been all of that and more for the Cyclones so far. So who is Breece Hall, and how did he get to this point? Today we'll talk about how he went from no offers at one point to a big-time recruit and an eventual star at Iowa State. But first, if you love college football, I try to bring the best football stories to YouTube, so be sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications. Give the video a like, share it with your friends, comment your thoughts, suggest a future video topic, and stay until the end to help the video get in the algorithm, which will help the video do better and I can make you guys more videos. Now let's get started and talk about the rise and journey of Breece Hall. There are plenty of reasons to be high on the Cyclones football star who currently leads the nation in all Power 5 rushers. It's pretty easy to wonder if the sophomore just might become an All-American or a Heisman Trophy finalist by the end of this crazy 2020 season, and that's becoming more of a possibility with each 100-yard rushing game. He's had 7 so far this year, and a lot of people aren't even talking about this guy. He's the country's leading rusher, a potential Heisman Trophy candidate, and perhaps the nation's best running back, but he spent his sophomore year of high school with no offers, lighting up the JV squad in the Wichita Athletic League. He grew up loving football, but he was a multi-sport athlete at Wichita Northwest, and he quietly hoped that someday a college football coach would eventually notice his talents as a running back and offer him a scholarship. He said for the longest time, he wondered if it would ever happen. His high school coach said, quote, "To be honest with you, from a talent standpoint, Breece should have been the starting running back as a sophomore here. He just wasn't doing all the intangible stuff." Breece said, quote, "That JV season was pretty fun. We averaged probably 7 points a game. We ran the ball a lot, so I think I averaged 5 touchdowns a game or something like that. It was definitely unfair, but it was also really fun at the same time." But again, he wasn't playing for the varsity squad, he didn't have any offers, and something was off. So his head coach came to him in the offseason and said, quote, "Breece, I think you could be one of the best backs to ever come out of Wichita and the state of Kansas if you would just put your mind to it and get better at the little things," his coach said. Breece said he took that to heart and ran with it. He ran for over 2,200 yards as a junior and another 2,000 yards as a senior again. But who was going to offer the guy? He didn't even know if he would get one. But that would all change on a chilly winter day 3 years ago when he picked up his phone and heard the voice of Iowa State head coach Matt Campbell. Campbell said, quote, "As soon as I saw his film, I was really impressed with it early on. We decided to offer him a scholarship because of it." Breece said he remembers it like it was yesterday, and it was right after his junior football season and he had just gotten home from basketball practice. One of the guys told me to hop on the phone, and he was getting texts left and right from his coaches and his friends congratulating him on his first offer, and he was kind of like, what in the world is going on, because he hadn't even seen the news yet. He then put his phone number on speaker, and Coach Matt Campbell was on there and said they were going to offer him. He said he was super excited and was jumping around. His mom and stepdad were the exact same way, and everyone was just going crazy, and it was just a really good moment and one of the best days of his life. It is really rare that Iowa State swoops into Wichita and lands a star football recruit, because now Breece had blown up into a 4-star recruit. Iowa State wasn't the only Big 12 school that wanted him, as Kansas, Kansas State, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State also recruited him really hard. But Iowa State would have an advantage, as they were the first one to show serious interest in him, and he rewarded Iowa State because of that. As he blew up and became one of the best high school running backs in the country, his offer list exploded and included teams like Kansas State, Iowa, Michigan, Mississippi State, Nebraska, Tennessee, TCU, and Wisconsin. He showed his loyalty to Matt Campbell though, and he chose to commit to Iowa State for football. But there was actually another Big 12 school that almost got him, and that was Kansas State. He loved the way Bill Snyder coached the program, and he just loved the culture that was at Kansas State football, but he knew Snyder was on his way out, so he decided to go elsewhere. According to 24/7 Sports, Breece was a 4-star recruit, the number 22 running back, and the 339th best player in the class of 2019. He was going to get a chance to play early on, and he was one of the first Army All-American running backs to head to Ames in a long time, but he'd have competition in his own class. He'd have to compete with another freshman 4-star recruit named Jairo Brock and 3 other guys to replace David Montgomery. He'd also compete alongside Johnny Lang, Kene Nwangwu, and Sheldon Croney Jr., and initially he was not the starter. Hall's early experience at Iowa State in some ways mirrored what it was like in high school for him. He didn't initially see the field as a true freshman, just carrying the ball 18 times in the Cyclones' first 5 games. His high school coach said, quote, "I saw a lot of inconsistency out of him as a freshman. Maybe he needed to pick up the offense a little bit more, figure out what the head coaches Tom Manning and Campbell wanted him to do, and how he needed to act better, needed to block and run the ball more, and carry himself better. Breece would once again take it to heart and do exactly what he did in high school, and he would finally get his chance, and he would shine the moment they unleashed him. He went for 132 yards and 3 scores versus West Virginia, 183 yards and 2 touchdowns against Texas Tech, 76 yards and 2 touchdowns against Oklahoma State, 110 yards against Oklahoma, 101 yards against Texas, and 97 yards and a touchdown versus Kansas. Hall had become a star player, and he proved he was the guy moving forwards, and he was showing his potential to the world. He finished his freshman year with 897 yards rushing and 9 touchdowns, while becoming one of the most productive backs in the Big 12, and it could have been even better had he played starting reps those first 5 games. So far in 2020, he has dominated just like he did last year. He's had 7 100-yard rushing games, and that's the 3rd best streak in school history. According to ESPN, he's the 5th Power 5 player since 2005 to have 100 yards and a rushing touchdown in each of his first 6 games. Guess who the others were? Adrian Peterson of Oklahoma, Tevin Coleman of Indiana, Leonard Fournette of LSU, and Bryce Love of Stanford. But he's not being respected like that, because if you Google Breece Hall for Heisman, tell me which websites pop up. It'll be websites like the Iowa State Daily, the Des Moines Register, and Heartland College Sports, and those are the only major publications that pop up. No ESPN or Sports Illustrated, Fox, or even CBS are talking about him. There's nothing about him. So why isn't Breece Hall getting the attention he deserves? One reporter has a theory, and it's probably because he doesn't have a curved side A on his helmet or an SEC logo on his jersey. He hasn't played for a top 5 team or a brand that's known to be big in college football. But he likes to argue, isn't this award about the best player and not about conference supremacy or national relevancy? And he's got a really good point with that. He says sarcastically, surely these media outlets would want to recognize the most deserving player and not pander to fan bases who help pay their bills and keep their lights on. He's got a good point, and definitely Breece Hall is getting disrespected because he doesn't play for Alabama, doesn't play for Clemson, or doesn't play for a school like Ohio State or in a conference like the SEC. It's pretty stupid that Breece is not in the Heisman conversation because he is the best running back in college football right now, and in my opinion, it's still not even that close. He's put up over 100 yards in every game, and he has outplayed everyone else. Okay, you can tell me, what about Travis Etienne? Well, let's look at Travis Etienne so far, and let's look when he had his worst game of the season. People like to blame the fact that Clemson lost to Notre Dame because of Trevor Lawrence, but DJ Uiagalelei put up over 400 yards of passing, and it's not talked about enough that Etienne barely put up 30 yards of rushing and had his worst game of his career on one of the biggest stages. Before yesterday's game against Kansas State, he had over 100 yards and led them to an upset win. He was up to 1,034 yards and 13 touchdowns and is averaging 7 yards per carry. I don't know why he's being slept on so much, but Breece Hall will continue to dominate, and I pray that people start to realize how good he is, and maybe this video will help get it out there. He will 100% be in the NFL soon, and I think he could go down as the best Cyclone running back ever. But what do you guys think? If you're an Iowa State fan, let me know what you think of Breece Hall. If you're a college football fan, let me know who your favorite running back in college football is, and also be sure to suggest another future video topic down in the comment section. Before you go, don't forget to give the video a like, as these videos take a while to make, and it'll help it get in the algorithm so more people can see it. Don't forget to share your thoughts and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and check out my other video about the rise of Matt Campbell in Iowa State football, and all my other videos. Until next time though, peace.